Well, hello and welcome back, everyone. I cannot believe that we've reached the last in our August Acceleration series this year. And I have absolutely loved this series because who doesn't like to reclaim our potential? And I hope that over the last 4 weeks, you've really started to glean how much we have to draw on that you maybe didn't realize that you had before. And today, I have left a very special guest to the very end because we are going to be moving out of the range of talking about how we can hone our inherent skills or release or shed or gain any more skills. And we're going to start talking about how we might be able to use some tools external to us to build upon our own skill base, assist us in reclaiming our own potential, and also feel more empowered and enhance the skills that we've got. So today, please join me in welcoming Peter Benson from Energies of Service, based in Arizona, who is going to talk to us about quantum tools and how we may be able to use quantum tools, particularly the ones that he makes, to really be able to enhance our potential. And so before I hand over to Peter, I'm just going to give you a little bit of flavor in his background, because I think you'll find Peter's story incredibly interesting. Because Peter was a car mechanic who then went into the engineering technology business, and that was his life. And he was working in mechanics and engineering, never thinking about all of the stuff that he's going to talk to you about today. But having been through quite a big life-changing process, as so many of us do, suddenly something in him opened and he started to get downloads of information. And he realized that he was being given information that was going to enable him to make these very special tools. And those of you that have followed this August Acceleration series for the last couple of years will know that I have already introduced to you tensor field technology. And these tools also incorporate some of this technology as well. But I'm going to welcome Peter with all my heart and with all of you as well, and say, welcome, Peter. Thank you so much for joining us. And I would just love you to tell your story, because I know people are going to be incredibly interested in how you made this enormous, it feels even double 360-degree turn.
Thank you, Melanie, for having me on. It's a wonderful to have you on the show. Yes, it's the way you brought it in was actually perfect. I was a mechanic, went through trade school, did the whole 3D thing, being a mechanic, working for small shops, big shops, dealerships, and getting married, having kids, and moving through all that. Moving into engineering, as an engineering technician. So not an engineer, but a technician. So I'm the one that actually says to an engineer, it's like, yes, those are the specifications, but in real life, that won't work. It's kind of putting a little bit of common sense into the engineering side of things. And that's what the technicians tend to do for engineers, to help you implement their thought process and kind of give feedback. So that's what I did for 20 years in the engineering side of things, and then 15 years in automotive. So it's a long journey. And then, of course, I had the life-changing events, which was 20 years of that. And then over the last 7 years or so, things have really shifted. So as you explained, it's like I went into very 3D, and coming into the end of that particular section of my life, it was very challenging. I had to figure out who I was, being removed from that environment and that situation that I was in. And okay, where do I fit in this world? Who am I? What's going on? And I started researching and reading books and all those things. And Brian Weiss, Michael Newton, Dolores Cannon, all those books are talking about, life after, the life between lives, the soul's journey, regressions on, where your soul has been in past life and all this other stuff. It's really, really fun. So I started understanding, like, okay, all these people are, these are writing books on this type of stuff, and they're talking about the same thing, but from different people. and they're talking thousands of different people. I mean, it's like, okay, this is not a coincidence. This is something that's real and I've never been exposed to. So it was paradigm breaking for me. I'm very 3D, working on cars, working in engineering and physical. So this was a major shift for me. And I started going into, meditations and, doing that kind of stuff. And that shifted me, from that understanding to meditations. It was really kind of a slow process for me because it was literally breaking my paradigm.
Mm.
And going into a spiritual environment from a very 3D, very grounded in the materialistic side of things. It was hard to actually rationalize the shift between left brain and right brain, and allowing my spiritual side to come through while the left brain was trying to logic and analyze and, do all that. And it's, to this day, it's still that, because of, where I was brought up and everything and all those experiences. So when I actually found out about tensor technology with Slim Sperling and, other folks that you've worked with have, the source of all of this tensor technology is Slim Sperling. I found him, read his books, watched his YouTube videos of his interviews with other folks, and then found other folks that were building these tools. And I'm like, this is just really cool. So I started building them, and it took me a month or two to really get the tools to start to function.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't understand why until later, but it was my intentions weren't quite there. So my logical brain was like, I can build that because I'm a mechanic. I have the understanding of metals and torches and welding, and I can do this. But they weren't working. So it took me a while to get myself and my energetic side of things into alignment.
Mm-hmm.
So,
because these really are quantum tools, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They are fully quantum tools. So you have to have the intentions and you have to have your mind right. If you look at the experiments in the quantum realm, everything is, if your thoughts are influencing in the environment, in the quantum side, when they do experiments, what they were showing is the people doing the experiments can influence it by just their thoughts.
It's
so
incredible.
That is actually,
I mean,
yeah.
our power is limitless when you think about if we were actually to hone our thoughts in a very, very creative way. I mean, we can do so much.
Yes. So this is where it's like, okay, so this is where your idea of, when we're talking about quantum or
Mm-hmm.
intentions, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so this is where I started focusing, and I started actually, okay, so these things are starting to work. What happens next? So I started creating the tensor rings in different tools and creations, pendants with with wire wrap crystals in the middle of the tensor ring. So those are the first pendants. And then I did tensor rings for the lady who was doing the sound bath that we were doing.
Mm.
And we sent you one of the tensor rings for that to experiment with. And I gave her 4 of them, and she has 14 bowls. So she has the chakras and higher chakras. 2 days later, she texted me back, can I have 10 more? Because they changed the way the bowls literally sung. They changed their frequency, they vibrated longer, and they got more powerful. So I was like, okay.
I can really attest to that, because your package has just arrived, and today is the first day that I've actually managed to try it, and it is really quite remarkable, because I mean, I am sensitive to energy as well, but the wave that comes out from the bowl is different. It's like it's like on steroids, really. And then the sound of it is different as well, and it does go on longer. And in our building, we're in our own building here, but the rest of our team is sitting downstairs, and I immediately got a Skype from one of our team saying, oh, that is just so lovely. And the sound and everything had gone all the way through the whole building. So it really is beautiful. And I mean, that's just coming from a single ring. And I think before we talk a little bit more, could you just I can hear the questions in the mind of the audience already saying, what do you mean by really work? And also, what are these rings? And I know that they're in specific lengths and they have different frequencies depending on the length. Do you think you could just speak a little bit about tensor tech on its own first?
Absolutely. So tensor technology is what Slim defined as tensor technology. It was first originally discovered by John Archibald Wheeler in 1957. He was one of the nuclear physicists on the Manhattan Project that created the nuclear bomb. He coined the phrase black hole. So this guy he's up there on the list of physicists that knows what they're doing. So this is where that came from. But what Slim Sperling did is he took that idea and that discovery from John Archibald Wheeler and created something positive out of it. So when you created the tensor ring, or the ring that John Archibald Wheeler is talking about, is just a copper wire, single wire in a ring, and it would create a positive energy on one side and a negative field of energy on the other.
Okay.
And Slim Sperling confirmed this, and he's like, we can't use this. People can get really hurt by this, because it's like you have life energy on one side and you have anti-life energy on the other. So what Slim did is he was a lot like I am. He's very experimental, and he's like, okay, so what can we do? How do we do this? And they started playing and experimenting, and they took one wire and then folded it over. So you have energy going in one direction on that wire, right? And then you twisted it positive clockwise, cut it to the specific length, which creates your different frequencies. So the different tensor rings would have different frequencies, different lengths, and then braze it back onto each other. So the wires would be like this. And then once that happens, you would actually create the energy field of that frequency in that tensor ring. And it creates a toroidal energy field. So it creates a donut energy field around the ring itself. And it creates three different things. So it creates a donut energy field. It creates a film inside the ring, like when you're blowing bubbles. The soap film in the middle is like the energy field inside there. And that's the tensor field itself is in there. And the other aspect of it is when it creates that donut energy field, it creates almost like a floodlight of energy coming out the tensor ring to both directions, like a flashlight, a directed energy field. So it has three different energies that are coming off of a tensor ring.
Absolutely phenomenal. And so two things come to mind. One of them is that our own energy field that we create is also toroidal, isn't it? So I mean, the human body stands within that. So
yes.
we have an affinity already, and it must hugely enhance our own energy field. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So yes, it does. So the way I understand how this energy works is, so when you're looking at your crystal ball, so that the tensor ring is sitting on the floor right next to or underneath the ball. So it's projecting its torus energy field and its floodlight of energy into the ball. So the ball is actually inside a vortex of the energy that tensor ring is creating. So that's how that particular side of the tensor rings work. Pendants and the anklets are a different form of that, where the tensor film, that energy film, like the soap bubble, blowing soap bubbles, that actually intersects with the crystals that are in the pendants. And then the tensor ring amplifies those crystals at the frequency that it's designed to. So it creates an amplification of the different crystals, which have their own frequencies, own vibration, and the tensor ring, which actually has its specific vibration. So it actually merges all of it. It's almost like a symphony of energy coming off of that tensor of the pendant per se.
Oh, okay. I've got so many questions coming to mind, but let me go back to the one that I was going to ask you. Is that am I right in thinking that the ancient Egyptians were very into sacred cubic lengths and all the tensor, the angles and the tensor field sort of frequencies as well?
Yes, the original tensor ring that Slim Sperling created was the cubit length that was actually found in the Great Pyramid of Giza. So they used that particular measuring stick, if you want to call it, whether it's a foot or a meter or whatever, they used that cubit length to create the Great Pyramid of Giza. The other ones that we have, like the one you have for your for the crystal bowls, is the Solomon's cubit, which was supposedly the one that's in documentation in the books of Solomon's temple. That was the cubit length that they used to create Solomon's temple. Then you have Teotihuacan down in Mexico, and down in Central America. All those particular structures have their own cubit length and their own frequencies. So all the sacred sites is lost knowledge in those qubit and frequencies. So those links mean something. And it's basically, it's handed down information that we're just understanding. At least that's how I see it with the energies we're working with this.
I know they certainly weren't primitive people.
No, they were not.
I know we are decoding their information. So, I mean, obviously, throughout this entire series, our viewers would have been able to see me that I have one of these tools, and I'm lucky enough to own two of them, but I have had mine since the end of May this year, 2023, and I literally can't be parted from it. So I don't know, my own sense is that it now has become part of my own energy frequency that is amplifying my frequency, but also keeping me enhanced, if you like. So I know that's my own sense. I don't know whether that's how you or other people experience it.
So the tools work specifically with you. And it's the interesting part is when the energies of the crystals and the tensor rings interact with you, you initially feel them and then you understand them. What happens is your body gets used to, and it actually starts, you almost, how do you want to put it? You're connected to it. The tool becomes a part of your energy field, and it takes time for your field to really acclimate to the energies. But once you do, it's hard to take that away, and then you're missing it if it's not there, because it amplifies you, and they work with you. They're not like when you're putting on a watch or something like that. It's totally external to you. This actually helps you in your energy field, and it changes the way your energy feels. And it allows you to change your thoughts and stuff like that much easier.
It's so true, and I find that it's a very definite selection process as well. It's almost like the pendant selects me, in the morning as to which one I'm going to be wearing. And I know I'm lucky because I have two, but and not everybody has that ability. So we'll talk about the selection process and how that goes further down. But Peter, for now, I mean, the burning question is, how did you come up with the designs, and how did you know which lengths to use in your pendants, and do all of your pendants have the same length in it?
All of those are really good questions. So let's start where the source of the tensor technology came in with some Sperling, and through Slim and other people who create them, there is a number of different tensor rings out there for different lengths. The sacred, the royal, the lost cubit, the Teotihuacan, the Solomon's cubit. There's a bunch of them out there, and they're all different frequencies. And we've actually associated almost all of them to chakra energies and the understanding of each one. So those are there, and we're utilizing those different tensor rings and the frequencies as guided, and that's how it's been. But the original idea for the tools that we have now was actually a channeled message from Archangel Metatron, and that was for the anklets. It's so that was really interesting. I was actually in the process of my life change, and I was actually having a healing session done, and we were closing the session out, and then Metatron came in and said, "You need to make anklets." And I'm like, "Excuse me?" You need to make anklets, and you need to use these 5 crystals. It has to be inside of a tensor ring, and it has to be covered with copper mesh. And I'm like, okay, I got the tensor ring. I understand that. The copper mesh, I'll figure that out. I can figure that one out. I understand. I've known 3 of those crystals, but 2 of them I've never heard of before. So it was like, okay, thank you very much for the really kind of very fine, under massive understanding that I had no clue. And I took all that information, and it took me about 1.5 years to get everything together, source it, and build some of these things out. And it was a tensor ring with 5 crystals in it, the morganite, tanzanite, lapis, tiger's eye, and morganite.
Yeah, you said morganite.
Morganite one, right? Was it Morganite, Tanzanite, Lapis, Black Onyx, and yeah, Tiger. Yeah. Anyway, those are the fives. So those are the five crystals that Metatron told me to put in there. And what we found out is after the fact, we had somebody that was very visual in understanding energies. The individual said when you put those on, it basically takes that energy torus that we had just talked about for the human body. We have this giant toroidal field. It's been proven through Heart Math Institute and all these other things. What she saw was if you take that torus and cap the top and bottom, it's no longer a torus. It's now a oval shield.
Wow.
So it basically turns your field, your torus energy field, into a shield. And it's not necessarily a shield, but it just creates a unified energy field around you that doesn't allow energy in.
Interesting, but it allows you to exchange energy, I suppose, under your will, if you would like to.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is where that particular energy came in. And when Metatron gave me the channel message, it's like, it's to keep your vibration yours as we go through this time. And that was exactly what he said.
Incredible. And so the anklets are, I mean, it's easy to understand how the pendant does, because the pendant is in the tensor field circle. But the anklets are not a complete circle, because obviously you've got to be able to get them on and off. But they still work the same way. They still create the same toroidal sort of shape, the oval shield.
So an anklet actually is a ring.
It is a ring.
Is a ring it is a ring, but I've flattened it out.
Okay.
So it actually is a ring, but it's flat. Then you open it up in the middle and put crystals in the middle, and then
Okay.
So they are a tensor ring.
It is amazing, and obviously we wear a single pendant, but it's ideal to wear two anklets. I can imagine. I haven't tried them myself, so I can't speak from any experience here, but I imagine that does it feel like you're very grounded as well?
Yeah, the anklets are. So the description that Metatron gave is to keep your energy yours. So that aspect is an energy protection from other people's emotional, environmental, that type of energy field. It actually creates a shield around you. The tensor ring that these are made out of has a grounding effect. So you're wearing two anklets, you're going to feel very grounded. And the other aspect of the tensor ring is very balancing. So it balances your chakras at the same time as grounding you. So when you put these on, you have all of those things all happening at the same time. Your field closes down, protects you from an environment. It grounds you and balances your energy. So you actually feel very whole, especially going into an environment where there's a lot of energy, whether it's a large store or a conference or something along that line, when you're dealing with a lot of people in your environment.
It sounds remarkable. In our first interview with Zandra Hawes, we talked about empaths and people who are incredibly sensitive, who have a really difficult time being able to discern between, their energy and somebody else's. And so it seems, and I know you talk about the Metatron anklets and the pendant as being very shielding and protective from that. But have you experience of highly sensitive people feeling sort of more in their own space when they put them on?
Actually, in my family line, we are very empathic to the point where I can feel people's energy. And working in the corporate environment for 20 years, yeah. So before I left the corporate world, I was usually using these tools so that I wasn't overwhelmed by the energy of those alpha personalities pushing so tough, their energy just so much just to get their point across. And you have to believe me kind of energy enforcing the issue. And it became to the point where it was, you could understand your response. The energy that's coming out now is your energy responding to just them talking and them communicating with you. It's no longer their energy being pushy, it's their verbal. So it helps you understand your energy to a very, very fine point. So for me at that point, it started becoming more fun, especially when we do conferences. When I was at work, I was too busy trying to do work. But conferences, when you have time in between, it's actually the fun part where you put the tools on and because you look around and through intention, you can look at people and feel their energy because now you can understand who you are. You can look at them and understand, it's like, oh, they're not having a good day. Or, it's like they haven't had their coffee yet, whatever it is. But you can actually understand, you can get glimpses of their energy and who those people are when you understand yourself better.
Yes, and that makes for a much a kinder society as well, and for you taking things less personally, I presume, because it's easier to be able to see where you begin and end and somebody else begins and ends.
It is. It's so exactly to that point. What you look at now is when you feel those particular impacts of energy, it's no longer just so when people talk, you end up having more of you have an energy exchange, and you also have that verbal and the thought form exchange.
Mm-hmm.
So people were, that now that you're protected from their emotional energy and that projection, now you have to work on responding to their verbal, I don't want to say attack, but their verbal, their communication that could be very hostile.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have to actually address that directly. And that's more of understanding, being compassionate and understanding how you're going to respond to it without responding in kind.
Mm.
So it allows you to really refine your thoughts.
And when you're not emotionally involved, because you're not feeling that energetic impact, it's much easier to refine your thoughts and come from a place of reason as well. Amazing.
Yes, very much so.
Amazing. And so before we start to look at the individual tools and the gifts that they each give, I'd love to talk a little bit now about the crystals inside, because I've seen a lot of Tensor tech out there. The crystals are very definitely something special that you're doing, and amazing that Archangel Metatron gave you that information. But I've always had an affinity and a love of crystals. I know that a lot of people don't really understand how they work and think they're just pretty colorful rocks, but actually they've got a power of their own, haven't they? And I mean, a lot of our technology, particularly radio technology, is all being powered on quartz crystal, let alone, what's in our watches. And whilst they make it synthetically now, can you talk a little bit about crystals and the kind of actual, the physics of them and why they enhance these tools?
Absolutely. So you're correct. Quartz crystals are in all of our technology. They vibrate at a specific resonance, and they can utilize that where they're vibrating at thousands of cycles per second. And they understand that, and they can create crystal. They use it for watches, computer time, all these other aspects. And they're even in your gas grill, your piezoelectric starter. That's crystals in there too.
I didn't know that.
So they do all these different things in order to actually create energy. And it's in an environment all around us. So it's really interesting. The ground we stand on is energetically set up because it is a crystal. It just depends on which type of crystal we're talking. So quartz is the big one that we know of because it's actually utilized in all of our technology. But we have other ones. Selenite, that's a salt. That's purification. And a lot of folks utilize that, and they put pieces like the selenite lamps, where they can actually, put pretty colors in it and make it glow and all these things, and it's really pretty. But those are very clearing of energies in your environment if you have nice big pieces. People are using shungite. Shungite is essentially buckyball carbon, so it's carbon balls. So they absorb all the radiation energy around you, and they don't disperse it. It just basically dissolves the energy fields. So that's why they're using shungite as these pills to put on your back of your cell phone, or put them in pendants to absorb the energies, or do a lot of different things. So the crystals in our environment, whether it's quartz, shungite, selenite, amethyst, or turquoise. I love turquoise. It's a very calming energy. But but all these crystals have different energy fields. They all vibrate differently. So we find, and this is what is actually what was really interesting about, Metatron and his message. I'm like, first off, I'd never heard of two of those crystals.
Mm.
And number two, I would have never have thought to put those 5 crystals together, even
No.
if I knew about those other 2. I would have never have thought to put those 5 crystals together to do what it does.
Mhm.
And then we migrated it to a pendant form, and it still does what it's supposed to do, but in a different way. And I'm like, this is just really interesting. So crystals definitely have their own, let's just say, personality.
They definitely do. And I think the thing is, everybody knows about the Schumann resonance. I mean, this is the frequency that the Earth resonance vibrates to. We're starting to understand much more about frequency now. So to think about crystals in terms of the type of frequency that they're emitting is a good way for people to get their head around the fact that they've got different properties, because us human beings, we all vibrate at a different frequency, and we're all very individual as well. And so you've got different crystals in all of your pendants. And so obviously the Metatron came first. Take us through the sequence of how some of the others arrived.
So the anklets came first. That was direct channel. And the Metatron pendant came in out of necessity.
Mm.
I was building the anklets, and we were experimenting with having different people experiment with them and try them, and I wanted feedback. So we built some and brought them out into the environment. We gave a pair to a friend of ours who was an accountant, and this was tax time in the US. So she was getting bombarded with people filing their taxes. And when it comes to, people and money, people get very emotional, very stressed out. So this was actually, she loved them. Absolutely loved them. She had them for 3 days, and she said, then she, called me and said, I have to give them back to you. I can't wear them anymore. I'm like, is there a problem with them? She was like, no, my husband will not let me wear them. Because he was very grounded in the 3D and didn't accept the kind of spiritual woo-woo type of, oh my God, these are protecting your energy. He's like, what does that mean? And he just didn't allow, he just gave her too much of a hard time. And she's like, fine, I'll give them back. So when I got them back, and at that point, I'm like, okay, Metatron, how do I make this work where people can put these on and nobody would even think twice? How to work. And it's like, and then because I was making the pendants in another form with the wire wrap, and it's like, I couldn't do wire wrap with 5 crystals. That wasn't going to happen. It was just going to be a little bit too much. Came through, do it this way. I'm like, okay. So at that point, that's where Metatron's pendant came in, and utilizing the tensor ring, resin, and the crystals.
Mm-hmm.
So I did it that way, and I ended up adding a little bit of craft glow powder in it just to have a little fun with them, so they glow like crazy.
And that is so fun, because the minute it's absorbed any of the light, when you go into the dark, or when they glow. But Peter, honestly, the way that they light up the crystals at nighttime, look, it is, they take on a whole new power and an energy of their own, really, when they light up at night.
Yes. So if you think of us as like a quantum entity, we are energetic forms, right? We are energy beings. And if you look small enough down, it's like we're mostly just an open space, like an energy vacuum in the center of an atom. There's 95% or 99% just open space in between every atom, or every part of an atom. So we are mostly space. We are mostly just energy. If you look at these tools as also just energy, these are like blueprints in the quantum realm that we're bringing in, the same as our blueprint in the quantum realm brings us in here. And we're here to actually experience a planet that is also energy brought in here for us to experience. If you think of everything as energy, these tools are also an energy field that we're utilizing. And it's kind of interesting that these tools are there, and they can come in and also interact with us on an energetic form. Not, because if you think of us as energy, that's what these do. And if you wait the way you feel them, it's you feel it energetically first, and then over time your body starts acclimating it and you start feeling it in the physical form, because it takes time for it energetically to actually manifest in the physical world. So these tools are just incredibly powerful when it comes to the way they influence and work with your field, with the crystals that are involved, with the tensor rings that are there, that, the different frequencies. And I just find it so much fun. Sorry.
It is so much fun. I really love it, and it's been an interesting journey for when the people, because I do wear mine every day, and I mean sometimes it is under a top, but it's been summer, so it's been out, and it's really interesting the people who are immediately drawn, like, what is that and where can I get one, and then the amount of times that that nobody notices at all. So if somebody is a little bit interested, but they don't really believe in the power of crystals, and they don't really buy into this 100%, is it still going to work for them, and is it still going to have an effect on their field?
The answer is yes and yes.
Mm-hmm.
So the tools are powerful all by themselves. They are what they are. So depending on which one you would resonate with, even if you can't feel them, if you're not sensitive, go with which one looks best for you. The one, you triggers you when you look at it, goes, ooh, that one's pretty, I like that one. Or that one looks powerful, yes, that one. If you're more sensitive, what we do is we actually have folks, especially if it's remote, to visualize the pendant, wearing it like you're wearing one right now, and then connecting to it, tell it to reset, which it resets all its energy fields, and then from there tell it to go to full power. And what happens is, even remotely, you will feel that pendant turn on, and it'll influence your energy field. So if it's weaker, it may not be the one you need. If it's really powerful, that would be the one you're kind of more guided to. So just experiment and play with them, and that's the easiest way to do it, other than just visually picking the one that looks the nicest one. It depends on your energy and where you are. But yes, they work with everybody no matter what.
And it sounds so woo-woo, doesn't it, to think about the fact, well, I can just think about something, but it's quantum, and the quantum field, there's no time, there's no space, everything's instant. We can link in. It's how we can heal. It's how mothers have a sixth sense when their child somewhere else is in trouble. It's how we have our intuition, our gut instinct. It's all in the quantum realm, and these tools are exactly the same. So you've alluded a little bit to them being able to work for you, and you mentioned the magic word, the reset word. So, and obviously you won't know this, but the book that we published last year is called Reset Eating. So reset is a very magic word in the ANH office. But let's go into how you reset them, and how you can program, and how you can really put them to work for you.
Yes. So we found out over time, we didn't know this when we first started creating these pendants, that they were that powerful, and what you can control them very, very fine, fine tuning them. We knew the energies of each individual one, but what we were finding is when you put them on, you feel the kind of the inherent energy of the pendant, but you don't know what it can really do. So what we found was resetting them, because if were at conferences, we always wanted to just do a reset from anybody that was touching them before. And what we found was, if they're just sitting ambiently, they'll just kind of they'll just reset themselves and go down to a neutral state. So we want to reset them again for you. So when you're thinking about it, you want to reset. It's not an absolute saying, I want to reset it for everybody else. It's more like, okay, reset it to me. Right? When you're telling it to do it, it's resetting it to you, or it's like synchronizing to your field, kind of a thing. So reset. And that basically tells it to clear. You put it here. And then from there, what you're doing is you're telling it what to do. So this is intention. This is what you want, if you want to call it quantum entanglement to that other particle out there in the universe. because
Yeah.
two particles can be quantum entangled. So you're connecting to that other one, or the multiple particles in that pendant, and you're connecting to it. So you're entangling yourself with that energy. So through intention, you're connecting. So at that point, you tell it to go to full power. Now you're telling the tensor ring to just power up along with the crystals, because the entire thing is a package and everything just lights up. At that point, you feel the energy of that particular pendant and what it's designed to do. So you're actually amping it up. So you're resetting it, giving it instructions through a thought to go to full power. So there's your quantum, your thought controlling, energy in space and time. So it can be remote. So if you don't have one, you can do connection remotely. You can also tell it to do other things. And this is where we were talking about having fun with it. You can tell it to, okay, I know we're going through a challenging time. I want to remove any obstacles that are not relevant to the goal.
Mm-hmm.
And you can specify whichever goal, and it can be very, very personal, and it doesn't matter. This is your tool, and you can make it function for you. And it actually works. And it works very, very much quickly when it comes into the energy side of things. And I do say it works because it's like we've actually had a lot of evidence from folks that have been utilizing these tools for the last 5 years. And you won't believe it until you actually experience the tools. These tools are very experiential.
They really are, and you don't necessarily have to feel them. I mean, it is lovely. I know we are physical beings, and we like to be able to touch the tool as well. But you can still tune in, as Peter says, and be able to see which one. And of course, this intention work, for those of you that have worked with visualization, or any kind of creative meditation, where you've mindset work, NLP, where you've really thought about a goal that you want to achieve. This is exactly the same. You're just putting your intention out there, and you're letting this quantum tool be something that aids your process, basically. So it's not as outlandish as it seems, but it is just in now harnessing what we are beginning to understand about the quantum field, acknowledging our quantum nature, and then being able to use our full potential. So I have worked with mine a lot like that. I tend to automatically run a program through it, put an intention and decide where I'm going, and it's become such a habit now. And I've almost sequestered, I've almost asked the pendants to sequester, my frequency, my highest frequency in any one time, but then I also get it to do other work as well. So I've got layers of intent going through it.
Yep.
And
Oh, absolutely. And they amplify your intentions. So this is the fun part. You see the response in the energetic field around you immediately. We've had experiments, it's not even experiments, experiences with it, where Vivian was under energetic attack when we were up in Sedona years ago. And she put on my pendant, and I told her, it's like, okay, now tell the pendant to make you invisible to anybody doing you harm. And the attack stopped immediately.
amazing. And Vivian is Peter's wife.
Yes, Vivian's my wife. And that's the thing. It's like, she's powerful in her own right, but this allows it to actually, it amplifies you.
Yes.
So yeah,
it's
interesting.
It really is a tool that's been gifted by the angelic realms, and I find it's very sacred. So you do a number of them in the range now. You've built on the Metatron one, so we know that the Metatron one is very much for shielding and protection and grounding. And so, which was the next one that came in the series?
The next one was the Archangel Michael. And that one has, so I've built all the pendants based off of the Metatron crystal structure. So we have the 5 crystals, which creating a shielding effect. So we're creating a shielding effect into all the pendants because we feel that's a very viable, tool for everybody to utilize. But we build on top of that foundation. So the Michael pendant, when you put that one on, it feels very warm, like you have protection. It feels like Archangel Michael's literally behind you and he's got you protected.
Mm.
So you feel warm, warm, cleared, and it's just like you're just very safe. Put it that way. It feels very safe. And the energy of that one is very unique compared to the Metatron. Metatron feels very warm, and you just feel like when you put it on, it just feels like you just put on an armor set. It's like you feel like the knight in shining armor. It feels like you just put on an angelic armor.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it's hard to explain. It's almost like you're putting on a solid plate armor set, but in an energy form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So kind of feels like I'm wearing this nice shiny plate armor set from the Middle Ages, but it's an angelic side thing. So it's really kind of interesting. So the other pendants also have this aspect, but the Michael is also very different. So Michael came in, he just came in, it's like, I want this, this, and this. I'm like, okay. And I built it, and it's like, oh, that's cool. I didn't expect that energy out of it, but that's very cool. And then we came into the multi-dimensional pendant, and that's the one you're wearing.
The one I have,
And yeah, that one actually has the same exact crystals as a Michael.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yes. So the difference in the energy between the Michael and the multi-dimensional is the tensor rings that are involved. So yeah, those are third eye, crown chakra, and star chakra crystals instead of the heart. So the Metatron and Michael are based off of the heart chakra tensor ring, energy from emotional, heart, higher heart, etheric body. So those three in the multidimensional are your third eye, crown chakra, and star. So it opens you up, multidimensional, to really open up to who you really are, and allowing the higher energies to access to, so you can connect to that kind of stuff. So that one is extremely powerful. I know this is a lot more on the woo-woo side of things for the multidimensional. We've had Danny and Brinkley. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
No.
He got struck by lightning like 4 times, and he's died and come back multiple times.
Okay.
Yeah. So his 3D experience is a lot more open to the higher realms than most because he's been over there too many times.
Yes.
He put on the multi-dimensional, and we were in the middle of a conference, and he's just holding it like this, and as he's looking around, he goes, and then he looks to the side, looks to the other side, and he goes, I can literally see the actual dimensional barriers.
Wow.
So it allowed him to actually experience the dimensional barriers, which he's passed through multiple times.
Yes, incredible.
So that was one experience. And then we had a young lady in Mount Shasta put one on the front, and we had one, and we were holding one on the back of her heart chakra, and she was wearing 2 of them basically. And the minute she did that, she was shot off into another, either a parallel life or a past life where she was not on this planet. Mm-hmm. She was an amphibian, and she was living on a coastline, and she went into all the details, colors and feelings and smells and everything. So the multidimensional is definitely a more refined tool for those on the spiritual journey to expand and help you open up.
Mm-hmm. I when I saw them all on the table, I mean, I didn't even know at that point what any of them did, but I just made a beeline for this one, and yeah, it was the one that spoke to me from the beginning, really. But I do have another one which I think you were just about to talk about.
Yes, about to talk about that one. It's the Archangel Shamuel.
Yes.
And that one came through. We were using a pendant that I still have. I haven't made a lot of them, and actually we're running out of inventory on those. It's called the Chill Pill.
The Chill Pill.
And it's the Chill Pill.
Seen this one.
And that one is actually a pendant based on turquoise and selenite. So turquoise is very calming, and selenite is very clearing. Mm-hmm. So, and we were allowing a lady that was actually, this is Mount Shasta again, and she was a therapist and dealing with a lot of post-traumatic stress, people coming in, and she was experimenting with this pendant with those folks. And she had it for a full year, and then she came back and she gave it back to me, and I'm like, oh, thank you. She goes, you need to make a post-traumatic stress pendant. And I'm like, okay, guys, what do we need? How do we put this together? What tensor rings do we need? What are the crystals? And then it came through. So it has two separate tensor rings. One is heart and the other one is your star chakra. So it's to heal your heart and also connect you to your higher self, your soul. And at that point, you have the same crystals as Michael. So it has those eight crystals, but it also has 10 other crystals in there that are specifically designed for stress and trauma and alleviating the symptoms and side effects and all those energies that are coming through. It allows you to clear and purge. We've had people put it on and immediately start crying because if it's really at the surface, it just lets it flow.
But in a protective way. The interesting thing
Yes.
for me is that I don't have PTSD, and so it didn't have that effect on me. But what I love about it is that it feels like it's putting me in the most protective heart space, and it's such a gentle, beautiful energy that
It is.
it softens the rough edges, but leaves you very open. And I hadn't realized that it's got the star chakra ring in there as well. And now I completely understand how it seems to soften the edges, but still leave you with an open channel. Beautiful.
Yes. And yes. Archangel Chamuel, know yourself. And
Yes.
that's what it's designed for. Know yourself in your heart and your connection to who you really are.
Yes.
And you're right. It's very much very soft energy when you put it on. It's very calming. If you are working through those like stresses and traumas and stuff like that, it will allow you to get rid of those and purge through them. We're working on trying to get more studies done on them, but we haven't gotten there yet, but we're working on it. But it's just more of the evidence coming from people. For me, it's like just like you, it's very calming. It keeps you very much in a stable space while you experience the day and going through things. So I love that energy.
I do. It's beautiful, and I think that with these quantum tools, the people's testimonials and their experience is really where it's at, because it's going to have a different effect on every single person, because we're all unique beings, aren't we? So we're all going to end up having a slightly different relationship with them. So difficult to study in a 3D sense,
Yes.
but amazing to experience, really.
Yep. And that's the thing. It's like the tools are designed like the one like Michael is going to look like a Michael. They'll all be different. They're all handmade. So they're all going to be, very unique in their own way. And just like everyone is unique, everybody is unique. So the experience with each individual tool is going to be unique. So some people will feel the shielding effect more than the calming, or somebody will feel the calming more than the shielding, or they'll feel the clearing and the calming and they won't feel the shield. It's really interesting. It depends on who you are and where you are in your path, on
Yes.
how these tools will represent themselves to you.
And that's the beauty of them, is that they will grow with you on your journey. So
Yes,
they really do become a tool that stays with you, that you're not going to outgrow, because they will just acclimate to your frequency wherever you are on your path. Is that your experience?
absolutely. No, they definitely do grow with you. They power up as you power up because it's working with your energy field and it's an amplifier. So as you wear it here, the stronger you get, the stronger it gets.
And if somebody didn't want to actually wear their pendant and just wanted to shove it in a pocket or something, does it still have an effect, or is there a particular reason why the lanyards sort of sit around the heart and the higher heart?
Yes, it's actually working with your heart chakra or your higher heart chakra, depending on where you want to have it resting.
Mhm.
Right now, we have the lanyard at about 26 inches, so it's right around your heart chakra.
Mhm.
You can make them shorter to go to your higher heart, but it's actually working with that energy and connecting with your field. So what we're trying to do is actually we're working with the technologies and understandings we have with our current understandings of our energetic body. If you look at the Heart Math Institute, your heart actually presents your energy field, and the way they've understood it, all your energy radiates out from there, from the physical aspect of those energies. So if it can expand out really, really far, how strong is that? So we're utilizing that energy and having these tools work with that and amplifying it towards you and working with you.
So if you put it in a back pocket, you're not going to quite get the same effect. No. Okay.
Not really. No. You can, like, if you were wearing different length lanyards, like if you wanted to have it in a choker, you could have it on your throat chakra, or you can have it longer going to your solar plexus. You can utilize other chakras. I'm not saying you can't do that. You can. And you can totally do that. And we've had people actually go into meditation lying down and move their pendant from their third eye to the throat chakra all the way down and work with those chakras, utilizing the same pendant and utilizing the energy of the pendant and the intentions to clear.
Okay. That's I know, I mean, it makes perfect sense because, this whole the whole journey that we're on at the moment is the movement from head to heart, because the heart is the seat also of our complete connection with the all that is, with source, with our higher self. It makes perfect sense that the pendants are enabling people to sit more fully in their heart, because it's a challenge for many of us, because everything in our world from the moment we arrived takes us away from our heart, turns us around, faces us outside, and to try and get that connection back in again is a real challenge. And that's the other reason why I love the tools so much, because they're working for you the whole time you've got them on, just naturally bringing you back into that place again. So I think that that quiet ability to just keep you focused back in your heart center, even if you're not mentally aware that you're doing it, it's happening anyway.
Yes. One of the things I've noticed personally, when you're wearing the tools and utilizing these tools and keeping yourself in your heart, and keeping yourself from being bombarded by the emotional energies being projected, is when you're looking at, or experiencing, I should say, experiencing the news or experiencing the narrative that's being projected, you actually see through a lot of it, and you can see it at its core. It's that you can actually see through a lot of the narrative and seeing what they're trying to do and what's being projected. So it allows you to be more empowered and less pushed into a fear state to just believe.
Wonderful. Because there is a lot of programming. We've spoken a lot to our audience over the last 3 years about the very deliberate behavioral manipulation and programming. And so anything that allows you to see more clearly and to be aware of that is going to be a good thing. And have we been through all of the ones? Have we talked about all of the pendants in your series? I'm just trying to think. I think we have, haven't we?
The ones we have right now, yes. We have stuff coming out. I'm working on a pendant for entity protection, but that's coming.
Okay.
I still have some kinks to work out in the process for that one. And Vivian and I are also working on Starseed set. So if you're a Starseed, it's going to have the energies of feeling like home kind of, stuff for them. And, that's the stuff we're working on right now. And also different versions of the anklets we're working on as well.
Beautiful. Peter, I love your tools and everything they can do. And I think the thing is, we've only just scratched the surface about what they can do, because our ability to harness those frequencies, we're kind of at the beginning of our journey with all of that. But I feel that they are they've got an intelligence all of their own that's just going to grow, with all of us as we move along this continuum that we're on. And I'm thrilled to have, met you, been able to access the tools. I'm also thrilled that we're going to be able to be offering them to people in the UK and Europe who want to get them, because it saves a bit on getting the shipping and bringing them all in from America. So we're going to be able to do that more in time, because I think they're going to be in huge demand, as they should be. But I know that everyone is also going to be saying, but what about the pyramid that's behind him? And we haven't talked at all about your pyramid. and I think because
Yeah.
of copper, they're a bit more problematic to bring in. But you have also, is it just one, or have you designed more than one pyramid?
We have two different pyramids. We have the Giza, which is the really wide base, short. It's like just like the Giza pyramid,
Mhm.
the Great Pyramid of Giza. And then we have the Nubian pyramid. If you go south on the Nile River, which is upriver, which is anyway, down in the deserts down there, they actually have a Nubian pyramid, which is a much steeper pyramid. And what we found is the two energies are completely different between the two pyramids. So the Nubian is extremely powerful in getting energy work done in a short period of time, but you have to actually do the integration outside of the pyramid. So
Oh,
so you do your work, you do your intentions, you get in the pyramid, you sit there, do the meditations for about, you'll kind of feel overwhelmed in about 20 minutes. So, okay, I've had enough. You have to get out. And the energy work is done, but the problem is your field is still disrupted from all that work. Now you need to integrate and
okay.
allow your energy field to rebalance and work its way through. So that's the difference with that one. So you have to do the work in the pyramid and outside of the pyramid.
Okay. So you
So
need
the
some
Giza,
outside the Nubian pyramid. Okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
So you could do, let's say, schedule like an hour's worth of meditation. You do 20 minutes in the pyramid and then 40 minutes outside of the pyramid to integrate all that work.
Okay.
The Giza, you can spend 40 minutes to an hour in the pyramid, and it feels like the integration is happening at the same time. It's a different field, different energy. It's
Fascinating.
more calming, more relaxing. You can actually fall asleep in the Giza a lot easier than you can with the Nubian. The Nubian feels like it's like a supercharger.
Yes. It's giving you a
You're plugging
jolt. I guess the geyser is much bigger, isn't it? You need quite a big room space to be able to fit that in.
Yeah. So right now we're doing the one behind me is a 10-foot by 10-foot base. So it's really large and it's about 6 feet tall.
Okay.
The Nubian that we travel around with is about a 5 foot by 5 foot base and it's 7 feet tall.
Oh, wow. Okay. But someone can stand in it quite easily as well as sit.
Yes. The difference is it's like the way we decorate or tweak the pyramids. We put, let me see if I can shift the earth for you. Let's see, back
Oh,
out a
because
little bit and go
yes, because you
here.
include all the tensor. Yeah.
Yeah. So the pyramid kit itself, which we haven't put up on the site yet, comes with the end pieces and the organite ball and other pieces like that. It comes with tape and O-rings. You have to, if you wanted to do more, you'd have to actually purchase more things with it. So the tensor rings are separate, but when we put them together, we put them together for conferences, when we do the Nubian or in our healing space here, we put tensor rings on it to create vortexes of energy inside the pyramid as well with the tensor rings.
Incredible.
Uh, and then we use the Merkaba, which you can barely see, but it's in there. There's a Merkaba right in the center, and it has a quartz sphere in it. So the
Mm.
Merkaba is actually amplifying the pyramid about tenfold, and then you can actually tune the energy by adding a crystal to it. So you're talking about crystals and their personalities.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to clear your energy field of everything going on, you'd put, selenite sphere in there.
Mhm.
We use rose quartz to help raise your heart high energies.
Beautiful. So, I hope our viewers are getting a sense of what quantum tools may look like, and as more and more come on in the future, how these tools are actually able to enhance your healing, your development, your journey, your clearing, and be part of your journey rather than something very strange that needs to remain. That actually is, in my view, part of the programming that we've been dealing with on this planet is the separation between, because generally the things that we've been told are woo-woo, crazy, you need to stay away from all of that, are actually have an enormous amount of power to enable us to move on our journey. And I'm so glad that these walls are coming down, and more people are becoming open and realizing, wow, we've actually been denied a huge amount of information that would have enabled us to be much further along our path by now.
You're exactly right. And then that's the thing is the structure that we've been in for a very, very long time has been focusing on turning us into production. So we produce and produce and produce for whatever reason, and we've been denied the understandings of who we really are in all aspects of what we are capable of doing. It's until you, and a lot of people have experienced things, but they dismiss it.
Mm.
When you experience something that's outside of our paradigm, if you're still stuck in the paradigm, you dismiss it because that doesn't fit. But if you just go back into your memory and understand, it's like, that didn't fit in the paradigm. Why?
Yes.
And then you need to start asking questions. If you're stuck in the paradigm that, the quantum realm, this is all there is. No, there's a lot more.
Yes.
So you to understand and start asking questions. The more questions you ask, the more you become awake.
True. The curious nature, because the dismissing of things that we don't understand is part of the programming. So rather, keep the curiousness of childhood and, be open to everything until you see what resonates with you and what doesn't. So I love your pyramids. I hope that one day they will be ready to ship abroad, so that they are available elsewhere, because I think putting the tensor technology with them, with the crystals, with the frequency of our own selves. And do you advise people to wear their pendants when they're in the pyramid or leave them out? It doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
It really does not matter. It's the tools will do what they need to do. They're intelligent and they work with your energy in the way you respond. So it's not going to change anything.
Okay, amazing. I've loved this conversation. You've given us so much information. I just wonder, is there anything else before I ask you how people find you? And obviously we'll have links below. Is there anything else that you may have forgotten that you may want to leave us with?
The thing is with these tools, as other tools for especially spirituality and stuff like that, or the quantum realm, or any of these tools that are out there now, these are going to assist you on your path. They're not going to replace who you are. And I know you've covered through, and you're covered in a lot of your stuff, is the intention behind who we are. You can use your intentions and your focus on how to change your reality. These tools will just help you get to a higher place, help you expand yourself. They're training wheels in understanding who we really are, and they help us expand. Eventually, we're going to actually outgrow these tools to a point where you will not require them, and then you can actually hand them down or pass them to a sister or a child or whoever is a part of your life that could use the help and the growth. So these tools are there for everybody.
Thank you, Peter. I really love that. And where can people find you if they want to have a closer look at the work that you're doing?
Well, thank you. Website is www.energiesofservice.com. Energies of Service with an IES of service.com. We're also on YouTube under Energies of Service, and X, which was the Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. But yes, we're around on the different social medias. But also we're going to be on your site as well.
You certainly are. And I love it. Energies of Service. Well, that says it all, doesn't it? So on that note, I invite you all to dive a little deeper into quantum tools, into the amazing gifts that Peter's brought through for everyone, and his energies of service. Peter, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Melanie, for having me. It's been wonderful.